Hello students, welcome to Affairs Cloud. My name is Vikas. We have an app by the name Careers Cloud which you can go and download through Play Store. Once you have downloaded the application, you will be able to easily log in using your Gmail ID. Once you have logged in, you will be redirected to this page where you will be getting this UI and there will be option for home, all courses, my courses and doubt section. On this application, you will be getting multiple PDFs, multiple content on daily basis that will be enhancing your learning. Our first segment is daily current affairs. We make sure to provide you current affairs on daily basis in both English as well as in Hindi content. The PDFs for the same are uploaded on our application, and apart from this, we also make sure to provide you with quizzes that will help you to revise the content after you have gone through the PDF. Next comes our weekly content. The content is also provided in both English as well as in Hindi, and here we also make sure to provide you quiz also of that past week's current affairs that will be enhancing your learning, as it is a compilation of the important topics, important MCQ questions for the last week. Similar for the monthly, the PDFs are very important. They provide you insights of various topics, as well as we also make sure to provide you the quiz of monthly questions that are very important for learning. Next, we also provide you with important PIB articles on daily basis so that you can go through these articles and have an insight about that particular topic. Not just this, we also make sure to provide you important events that are happening globally and make sure to give you the right analysis. One of the most important segment of our application is that we make sure to provide you with the correct exam analysis. When you are having exam, we make sure to provide you with the previous year questions so that the student can go through the exam pattern and the syllabus and can prepare the exam accordingly based on the pattern. After the exam, we also make sure to provide you with the exam analysis. Then for the students who are preparing for state exams, they will be also beneficial here, as we will make sure to provide with state-wise current affairs for them. Apart from this, we also make sure to cover the topic-wise current affairs such as your national affairs, government schemes, international affairs, banking and finance, economy and businesses, as these are the topics from which the examiner definitely asks the question, and these are covered on the monthly basis. So friends, do check our application. It will be a one-stop solution for learning. Apart from this, friends, Careers Cloud is hiring. We are looking for candidates for subject matter experts in quants, reasoning and English, and also we are looking for a content creator for current affairs topic on daily basis, weekly basis and monthly basis. There is also an opening for a person who can translate the English content into Hindi. If you want to apply, you can scan the code here for further details, or you can go to the description and click the link below. These positions are available both in full-time and freelance for serious candidates. Hello everyone. So in this video we will be discussing important current affairs for 26th of April. The session will be quite interesting, so do pay attention till the end. Let's start. First question is, which organization inaugurated India's first multi-purpose green hydrogen pilot project at the 1500 megawatt Nathpa Jhakri hydropower station in Jhakri, Himachal Pradesh? So which is that organization? It is SJVN Limited, that is your Satluj Jal Vidyut Nigam Limited, right? They have inaugurated the first multi-purpose green hydrogen pilot project that is at the 1500 megawatt Nathpa Jhakri hydropower station in Jhakri, Himachal Pradesh. Take a note of this. This is important. Correct? Then apart from this, remember, you should definitely know the location where this has been inaugurated. It is in Jhakri, Himachal Pradesh. Also, SJVN, it also inaugurated the first of its kind centralized operation of 1500 megawatt, this Nathpa Jhakri hydropower station, and 412 megawatt of Rampur hydrogen power station by remotely operating the unit 2 of this in Jhakri. Correct? Then if we talk about NHPC Limited, right? This, remember, SJVN, first of all, it is a Miniratna company. And NHPC, remember, if we talk about NHPC, it is also a Miniratna company. If we talk about NTPC and REC, they are Maharatna companies. Right? Apart from this, remember, for NHPC, the center has raised 2500 crore rupees via NHPC OFS, that is your offer for sale. If we talk about NTPC permanently closed their 2020 megawatt Baruni stage 1 project. So NTPC, they have closed their 220 megawatt Baruni stage 1 project, and for NHPC they have raised, or the center has raised 2500 crore rupees via NHPC OFS, that is offer for sale. Then if we talk about REC Limited, they have signed a memorandum of understanding. It is with Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, and it is to finance multi-modal infrastructure projects up to 35,000 crore rupees in the next 5 years. Correct? So coming back to the question, it is SJVN Limited, that is a Mini Ratna company that has inaugurated India's first multi-purpose green hydrogen pilot project at 1500 megawatt Nathpa Jhakri hydropower station in Jhakri, Himachal Pradesh. Right? And if we are talking about this green hydrogen, we know that green hydrogen is a clean fuel. On its burning, it does not release any carbon dioxide except water vapors are released as the residue. Then this pilot project, it is expected to produce 14 kilogram of green hydrogen per day during the 8 hours of operation, and this green hydrogen will be utilized for the coating of turbine underparts and also will be used to generate electricity. Then if we talk about SJVN Limited, as we saw, it is a Mini Ratna category 1 schedule A company. This comes under the Ministry of Power. Who is the chairman and managing director here? Geeta Kapoor. Headquarters is in Shimla, Himachal Pradesh, and it was established in 1988. Right? Apart from this green hydrogen pilot project, remember, this facility has the capability to cater to high velocity oxygen fuel coating, and this will meet the combustion requirements. And this green hydrogen plant will be utilizing alkaline electrolyzer of 20 normal meter cubed per hour capacity that will help in the production of hydrogen gas by splitting the hydrogen and oxygen from H2O, that is your water. Right? Take a note of this. And apart from this, remember, this was inaugurated by Geeta Kapoor, who is the chairman and managing director of SJVN Limited. And this multi-purpose project, right? This multi-purpose project is basically combination of heat and power, right? That is your green hydrogen pilot project that was inaugurated where? In Jhakri, Himachal Pradesh. Next is, which of the following organizations is not included in the Committee for Institutional Reforms within the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority? So tell me, which of the following organization is not included here? So all are included except Pfizer, right? Pfizer Limited, correct? Also remember, if we talk about here, Federation of Pharma Entrepreneurs, then Associated Chamber of Commerce and Industry of India and Association of Diagnostic Manufacturers of India, all three are included in the Committee for Institutional Reforms within the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, right? Then the main aim of this committee that was set up is basically to make a balance between the price and the availability of the important and essential medicines, right? To make a balance between price and availability of essential medicines, right? This is the main aim of this committee, and government has invited a total at least 7 industry associations to this committee, correct? And as I mentioned, the aim here is to look into pricing reforms of the drugs and medical devices, right, from various industries body and strike a balance between the price of that medicine and availability of that particular medicine. This committee consists of 3 core members, that is the Secretary of the Department of Pharmaceuticals, then the Chairman of National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, and your Senior Economic Advisor of the Department of Pharmaceuticals. Then apart from these 3 core members, this committee will have 2 special invitees from the Secretary General of the Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance and the Chief Executive Officer of Indian Drugs Manufacturers Association, right? So these are the 3 core members apart from the 2 special invitees that are the Secretary General of Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance and Chief Executive Officer of Indian Drugs Manufacturers Association. Apart from this, friends, organizations such as your OPPI, that is your Organization of Pharmaceutical Producer of India. Then USISPF, that is US India Strategic Partnership Forum. That comes your Medical Technology Association of India, CII Confederation of Indian Industry, then AIMED, that is Association of Medical Device Industry, then FOPE, that is Federation of Pharma Entrepreneurs, then representatives of Advanced Medical Technology Association, then Association of Diagnostic Manufacturers of India, ASSOCHAM, that is Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India, right? All these members from these committee will be invited here for this committee, where they will be talking about that how can we regulate and maintain a strike and maintain a balance between the price and the availability of these medicines. Correct? This will prepare a framework for price moderation of these medical devices as well as the medicines, and it will also offer various incentives to the industry for the growth, and also if we are exporting them, right, various incentives will be provided to them. Also, this committee will be suggesting various institutional reforms within the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, that is NPPA. Then if we talk about this National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, who is the chairman here? Kamlesh Kumar Pant. Headquarter is in New Delhi. It was formed in 1997. Then if we talk about Pfizer, for Pfizer, remember Pfizer appointed Meenakshi Nevatia as the managing director and additional director of Pfizer. Moving on. Next, Kabil. Kabil signed a memorandum of understanding with which establishment under CSIR for long-term collaboration in geophysical investigations to bolster its ongoing projects and activities in critical and strategic minerals. So, which of the following organizations Kabil has signed an MOU with? Which is it? Tell me. So, Kabil, they sign an MOU with CSIR, NGRI. What is NGRI? NGRI is your National Geophysical Research Institute. This is an arm of CSIR, that it is your Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. And this is basically a long-term collaboration between these organizations in the field of geophysical investigation. Then this collaboration between these two organizations, this will focus on various surveys, data analysis, scientific knowledge, technical support, right, in the geophysics, geochemistry and geology, and this will strengthen the Kabil's ongoing projects and activities in the critical and strategic minerals, right? So the right option here becomes option 1, that is your National Geophysical Research Institute, that is an arm of CSIR. Correct? Take a note of this. Then if we talk about Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, that is IICT, this is also an arm of CSIR, right? And they have partnered with BHEL, and it is to advance clean fuel technology. Correct? It is for clean fuel technology. The aim here is to develop a technology that will be converting carbon dioxide into dimethyl ether. I repeat, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, that is an arm of CSIR. They have partnered with BHEL, and the aim here is to develop clean fuel technology that will be converting carbon dioxide into dimethyl ether. And if we talk about IICT, where is this located? IICT is in Hyderabad, Telangana. If we talk about NGRI, where is it located? It is NGRI is also located in Hyderabad, Telangana, right? Then if we talk about Institute of Minerals and Materials Technology, Kabil, they also sign an MOU with CSIR, IIMT, that is also an arm of CSIR, and this MOU was for various technical and knowledge cooperation in the field of critical minerals. Right? Where is IIMT, that is Institute of Minerals and Materials Technology? This is located in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Where is this located? In Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Right? Then if we talk about National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, that is NEERI, correct? This is also an arm of CSIR, and WHO, they have launched, first of all remember WHO, they have launched COVI-NET 3 Indian lab, that includes your CSIR NERII, right? That is an arm of CSIR. And where is this located? This is in Nagpur, Maharashtra, right? So I repeat, WHO, they have launched COVINET 3, right? COVINET 3 Indian lab, that includes your CSIR, National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, that is located in Nagpur, Maharashtra. Correct. So all these are the labs of CSIR. The important point is to remember which have signed an MOU for which organization with which organization under which theme or for what they have signed this MOU. Correct. Take a note of this. Important. Pause the video. Go through this again, and it is important. Moving on, here you can see Kabil, they sign an MOU with CSIR NGRI for advancing geophysical investigation, right? And Kabil, what does this stands for? Khanij Bidesh India Limited. They signed this MOU with CSIR NGRI, that is National Geophysical Research Institute. This is a long-term collaboration in the field of geophysical investigations, right? Take a note of this. Moving on. Next, India's which organization signed a memorandum of understanding with Kuwait CMA for information sharing on the sidelines of India-Kuwait Investment Conference 2.0? First of all, what is this Kuwait CMA? CMA here stands for Capitals Market Authority, that is of Kuwait. CMA, Capitals Market Authority, right? This is of Kuwait. And this MOU was signed by which organization of India? It is IFSCA. IFSCA, that is International Financial Service Centers Authority. So Kuwait CMA, they signed an MOU with IFSCA, and this MOU was to share information for various technology and innovation within the financial and regulatory ecosystem. I repeat, these two organizations, they signed an MOU. IFSCA is of India and CMA is of Kuwait, and the MOU between them was for sharing of information for technologies and innovation that are within the financial system, financial and your regulatory system, right? Take a note of this. Then this MOU was signed on the sidelines of India Kuwait Investment Conference. And where was this India Kuwait Investment Conference 2.0 held? Location is important. It was held in Kuwait City, right? That is your India Kuwait Investment Conference 2.0. And during this only, this MOU was signed between Capital Markets Authority and International Financial Service Centers Authority, and it is for sharing of information for various technologies and innovation that is within the financial and regulatory ecosystem. Correct? The next is IRDAI, that is your Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. They have recently removed the requirement of approval for investment in infrastructure debt funds by insurance companies, and the main aim is to encourage the investment in infrastructure and enhance the ease of doing business, right? Take a note of this. And then if we talk about SEBI, that is SEBI, SEBI has introduced Settlement Scheme 3 on illiquid option cases, and the scheme will be implemented from 11th of March 2024 to 10th of May 2024, right? And under this, entities that are involved in the reversal trades in stock options between 1st of April 2014 to 13th of September 2015, right, they will be offered a settlement opportunity. And after the scheme period ends, security laws will be enforced against these entities that do not take advantage of this settlement opportunity. Then if we talk about Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority, that is PFRDA, right, they have mandated a two-factor Aadhaar authentication for CRA access, and this will be applicable from 1st of April 2024, right? So all these questions, all these options, they are important and you should definitely know them, right? Apart from this, if we talk about IFSCA, that is International Financial Service Centers Authority, right? This, remember, if we talk about this, who is the chairman here? K. Rajaraman. Where is the headquarter? It is in GIFT City, that is in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. When was this established? In 2020, and this was established under IFSCA Act of 2019. Moving on, here you can see India Kuwait Investment Conference, right? This conference was organized by Embassy of India in Kuwait in collaboration with India Business and Professionals Council with support from Union Investment of Companies and Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Next question is, which of the following points are correct with respect to RBI's recent upgradation? Option 1 is that RBI has raised master direction for asset reconstruction companies, that are your ARCs direction 24, and they have raised the minimum capital requirement for this ARC from 100 crore rupees to 300 crore rupees. So yes, option 1 is absolutely right. Option 2, ACC has reappointed T. Ravi Shankar as the Deputy Governor of RBI for a period of 1 year with effect from 3rd May 2024. So yes, option 2 is also right. Option C is that RBI has imposed a monetary penalty of 10 lakh rupees on NABFINS Limited, that is based in Bengaluru, Karnataka. So yes, all these three options are absolutely right here. Then remember, ARCs that are in existence since October 2022, they have been granted a transition period to achieve their net owned fund requirement, that is NOF requirement. And as per the directions, ARCs by 31st of March 2024, they should reach a minimum net owned fund of 200 crore rupees and 300 crore rupees by 31st of March 2026. And failure to do so will result in supervisory actions by RBI. Then apart from this, remember, ARC that are registered with RBI under section 3 of SARFAESI SARFAESI Act of 2002, right? Here the ARCs with the minimum net owned fund of 1000 crore rupees will be eligible to act as a resolution applicant under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016 of India, right? I repeat, ARCs that are registered with RBI under section 3 of this SARFAESI Act of 2002, here the ARCs with a minimum net owned fund of 1000 crore rupees, they will be eligible to act as a resolution applicants under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016 of India. Then remember, ARC, these asset reconstruction companies, they should also establish a policy for financial asset realization that ensures the realization period does not exceed 5 years from the acquisition date. Apart from this, we saw that ACC, they have reappointed T. Ravi Shankar as the Deputy Governor of RBI for a period of 1 year that will be effective from 3rd of May 2024. Then apart from this, RBI has 4 Deputy Governors. They are Michael D. Patra, M. Rajeshwar Rao, and Swaminathan Janakiraman. Next, remember, RBI in exercise of their power that are conferred under RBI provisions clause B of subsection 1 of section 58G read with clause AA of section 5 of section 58B of RBI Act of 1934, they have imposed a penalty of how much we saw of 10 lakh rupees on NABFINS Limited, that is based in Bengaluru, Karnataka, right? And this NABFINS Limited, this is a subsidiary of NABARD, that is National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. So these are the few things that you need to remember, right? And here all these options are rightly mentioned. Moving on. Next, here you can see RBI Deputy Governor T. Ravi Shankar granted 1 year extension. Rest 3 we saw. Moving on to next. Which bank or financial institution has been registered by RBI from adding new customers online and issuing new credit cards? So RBI, they have recently restricted Kotak Mahindra Bank from adding new customers online and issuing new credit cards, right? Take a note of this, important. So RBI, in exercise of their power under section 35A of the Banking Regulation Act of 1949, they have barred Kotak Mahindra Bank Limited from onboarding new customers through their online and mobile banking channels and also issuing new fresh credit cards. Correct? The bank can serve their current customers, including those with the credit cards, but they cannot onboard any new customer. What is the reason behind this? Here, RBI's Information Technology Examinations for 2022 and 2023, they have revealed various deficiencies in the bank's IT management that which bank has failed to address. These deficiencies, they include your IT inventory management, patch and change management, user access management, vendor risk management, data security, data leak, and many other. Also, Kotak Mahindra's bank's IT risk and information security governance, they did not meet any regulatory standards for 2 consecutive years. So, for these reasons, RBI had to crack down on this Kotak Mahindra bank and they have asked to stop onboarding any new customers here. Then if we talk about JM Financial, remember JM Financial Limited, correct? Here RBI, they have barred Mumbai Maharashtra based. This JM Financial is Mumbai Maharashtra based, right? And they have also been barred from financing against shares and debentures, that includes sanctions and disbursal of loans against IPOs of shares with immediate effect. Then RBI, they have directed IIFL Finance Limited to cease their operations from sanctioning or disbursing gold loans. They cannot give any new gold loans now, right? Because RBI have barred them. Then we know that Paytm Payment Banks was also barred from onboarding new customers, and even the chairman of Paytm Payment has resigned from their position, that is Dr. Shekhar Sharma. Coming back, we have seen the reason for which Kotak Mahindra Bank was banned or restricted by RBI under Section 35A for onboarding new customers online and even issuing new credit card to them. They can just service the older customers right now. Correct? Apart from this, remember RBI, they have also banned Bank of Baroda for onboarding new customers on their Bob World app since 2023 October, right? So on this application, they also, Bank of Baroda can also not onboard any new customers. Moving on, here you can see RBI, in exercise of their power under Section 35A of the Banking Regulation Act of 1949, has barred Kotak Mahindra Bank Limited on onboarding new customers through their online and mobile banking channels and also issuing new fresh credit cards. Correct? And here you can see RBI cracked down on regulated entities for non-compliance. And the banks barred RBI in the last 3 months include Paytm Payments Bank, IIFL Finance to offer new gold loans, and JM Financial from undertaking any new business related to shares or bond funding. And for Bank of Baroda, they cannot onboard any new customers on their BOB World app since October 2023. Moving on, which of the following has not received RBI's approval to operate as a payment aggregator? So, which of the following has not received RBI's approval to act as a payment aggregator here? Which it will be? Correct? Among the following, if we look at here, it is Worldline India Private Limited that has not got RBI approval to act as a payment aggregator. Apart from this, PayU Payments Private Limited, they recently got the RBI approval to act as a payment aggregator. Tata Pay, they have been granted the payment aggregator license by RBI, and to MS Swipe Technologies also, they got the license to act as a payment aggregator. Even Amazon Pay, they got the license to act as a payment aggregator. Then if we talk about PayU Payments Private Limited, with this approval, PayU, they can onboard new merchants and they can offer various digital payment services to those merchants. Apart from this, they will be focusing on digitization and inclusion of various small merchants on their application. Correct? Moving on, here you can see PayU, they got the RBI's approval to operate as a payment aggregator. Next, which Indian institute has won NASA Human Exploration Rover Challenge 2024 awards? So which is that organization that has recently won the NASA Human Exploration Rover Challenge 2024 award? Which it will be? So remember, Indian students team from Delhi National Capital Region, that is Delhi NCR, and Mumbai, they have won NASA's 30th Human Exploration Rover Challenge 2024. If we are talking about Delhi NCR region, it will be KIET group of institutions, that is Krishna Institute of Engineering and Technology Group. They have won the Crash and Burn Award. Then if we talk about from Mumbai, that will be Kanakia International School from Mumbai. They have won the Rookie of the Year award. They have won the Rookie of the Year award. Right? So they have recently won the NASA's Human Exploration Rover Challenge 2024. That will be the 30th edition of this Human Exploration Rover Challenge 2024. That is HERC. This HERC 2024, that is the 30th edition, was held in USA, right? And take a note of this, both these institutes are important. Apart from this, if we talk about the 14th edition of Quackrelli Simon World University Rankings by subject for 2024, here Jawaharlal Nehru University of India, that is in Delhi, it has the highest ranked institution in the development studies, that is 20th globally, right? So Jawaharlal Nehru University, if we are talking about the 14th edition of Quackrelli Simon World University Rankings by subject, it has marked Jawaharlal Nehru University, that is in New Delhi, India, as the highest ranked institution in development studies, that is ranked 20th globally. Correct. And it is India's highest ranked institution, and globally if we are talking about, it is ranked 20th. Then if we talk about Indian Institute of Management, that is in Ahmedabad, they have ranked 22nd globally and first among Indian institute in the business and management studies. So first in India and 22nd globally in business and management studies, that is IIM Ahmedabad, that is in Gujarat. And if we are talking about Jawaharlal Nehru University, they secured the top position in development studies in India, and globally they were ranked 20th. And KIET group of institutions, that is in New Delhi NCR region, they have won the Crash and Burn Award. And Kanakia International School, that is in Mumbai, they have been awarded with Rookie of the Year award under this 30th edition of Human Exploration Rover Challenge 2024 of NASA. Apart from this, remember Paris Episcopal School from Dallas. Paris Episcopal School from Dallas, USA. They secured the first position in the high school division. Then University of Alabama, that is in Huntsville, USA, they have secured the top position in the college or university category. So in school category, it is Paris Episcopal School from Dallas that secured the first position, and University of Alabama in USA, Huntsville, they secured the first position in the college or category. Correct? Under this. And these KIET group of institution and Kanakia International Schools, they are from India, that has secured the top position in India here. Right? Take a note of this. Then next thing you should know is that what is the aim of this HERC? That is your Human Exploration Rover Challenge of NASA. What is the main aim? It is to provide students team with the opportunities to design, develop and construct the human-powered rovers that can navigate difficult terrains and task tools to complete different missions on even different planets if we send them, right? To test them and to come up with new solutions. This HERC is being conducted, and this was 30th edition now. Then over 600 students comprising of 72 teams across the globe participated in this NASA's HERC 2024. Moving on, here you can see KIET, Krishna Institute of Engineering and Technology Group of Institution of Delhi NCR region has won the Crash and Burn Award, and Kanakia International School from Mumbai has won the Rookie of the Year award. And if we talk about HERC is one of the NASA's 8 Artemis Student Challenge that reflects upon the goals of the Artemis program, that is aiming to land first women and first person of color on the moon. Here HERC has seen over 15,000 participants since their inception in 1994, and many of whom has pursued their careers as NASA or within the aerospace industry. Moving on, who has been named as the MD and CEO of Axis Bank Limited? So who has been named here as the MD and CEO of Axis Bank Limited? What is the right option? So remember, Amitabh Chaudhary has been named as MD and CEO of Axis Bank Limited for next 3 years. This will come into effect from 1st of January 25 till 31st of December 2027. Right? This will be his second extension of 3 years. The earlier came in 1st of Jan 2022, and he has been serving as MD and CEO of Axis Bank since 2019. Right? And this will be his second appointment or second extension. Correct? If we further talk about P. Santosh, right? Then P. Santosh has been appointed as Managing Director of NARCL. after Sundar has resigned, right? After Sundar resigned, right? Then if we talk about Nidhu Saxena, Nidhu Saxena has been named as Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Bank of Maharashtra. And his full name is Natarajan Sundar. Correct? Take a note of this. P. Santosh has been appointed as MD of, that is Managing Director of NARCL, that is National Asset Reconstruction of India Limited, and he will be succeeding whom? He will be succeeding Natarajan Sundar, who resigned from his post. Correct? Moving on. Here you can see Amitabh Chaudhary in the picture. Amitabh Chaudhary started his career with Bank of America in 1987 and he later joined the Credit Securities in 2001. Before joining Axis Bank in 2019, he served as Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of HDFC Standard Life Insurance Company from 2010 to 2019, and he has also served as Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Infosys BPO from 2006 to 2010. Apart from this, remember, if we are talking about some other appointments on the board of Axis Bank, board of Axis Bank has also approved the reappointment of Meena Ganesh and Gopal Raman Padma Bhan, correct, as their independent director for the second term for 4 years. I repeat, Meena Ganesh and Gopala Raman Padma Bhan, they both have been appointed as the independent directors. This will be their second term and this will be for 4 years. These are some other appointments from the Amitabh Chaudhary, who has been reappointed as MD and CEO of Axis Bank. If we talk about MD and CEO, we saw Amitabh Singh Chaudhary. Where is the headquarter of Axis Bank? Axis Bank's headquarter is in Mumbai, Maharashtra. It was established in 1993 and the tagline here is Badhti ka naam Zindagi. Right? Moving on. Here you can see this is his second extension of 3 years. Next, UNSG, United Nations Security General, has appointed whom as the UN Resident Coordinator in Indonesia. So, India's Geeta Sabharwal has been recently appointed as the United Nations Resident Coordinator in Indonesia. Take a note of this important question. She will succeed whom? She will be succeeding Valérie Julliand. Right? She will be succeeding Valérie Julliand. Valérie Julliand is from France. Right? And she held this position since October 2020. She was appointed, remember, she was appointed as the United Nations Resident Coordinator. We are talking about Geeta Sabharwal now. Geeta Sabharwal was appointed as the UNRC of Indonesia by United Nations Secretary General, that is Antonio Guterres. If we talk about Geeta Sabharwal, prior to this appointment, Geeta Sabharwal has been serving as the United Nations Resident Coordinator of Thailand since 2020, right? And she has been included in the Peace Building and Development Advisor at the UN in Sri Lanka. She has an extensive experience of nearly 3 decades in development, supporting climate transition, sustainable peace, in governance, in social policy making, and so on. And before joining United Nations, she also served as the Asia Foundation's Deputy Country Representative for Maldives and Sri Lanka. Right? Apart from this, she has also worked as the Poverty and Policy Advisor for UK's Department for International Department in India and Vietnam. So this is all about Geeta Sabharwal, and India's Geeta Sabharwal has been appointed as the UN Resident Coordinator in Indonesia. And she will be succeeding whom? Valérie Julliand. Right? Then apart from this, remember, if we talk about Indira Mani Pandey, right? Indira Mani Pandey, our ambassador, Indira Mani Pandey will assume the charge of BIMSTEC Security General, right? Take a note of this, important. Then if we talk about Kamal Kishore, United Nations Security General has appointed Kamal Kishore of India as the Assistant Security General and Specific Representative in UNDRR. I repeat, Kamal Kishore has been appointed as the Assistant Secretary General and Special Representative in UNDRR. Moving on. Next is Board of SIFL managed by NARCL has appointed whom as their Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer. So, Hardyal Prasad has been recently appointed as the MD and CEO of SIFL, that is Sirai Infrastructure Finance Limited. This is managed by NARCL, that is National Asset Reconstruction Company, and Hardyal Prasad has been appointed as their MD and CEO. Take a note of this, important. Correct? Previously, Hardyal Prasad, he served as the MD and CEO of SBI Cards and Payment Service Limited and also MD and CEO of PNB Housing Finance Limited. Right? Take a note of this. Apart from this, remember, Ajit Kumar KK, he has been appointed as MD and CEO of Dhanlakshmi Bank. Atul Mehra, he has been appointed as the MD and CEO of Axis Capital. And Venkatachalam H, remember, he has been appointed as MD and CEO of Tata AIA Life Insurance. Apart from this, remember, NARCL successfully acquired the companies under the IBC, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, that was initiated by RBI, and it was to resolve 32,000 crore rupees debt of these NBFCs. What is the main aim of NARCL? The main purpose behind the formation of NARCL is to acquire bad loans from the banks and sell them to the buyers who are looking for non-performing assets. Next, here you can see Hardyal Prasad appointed as MD and CEO of Sirai Infrastructure Finance Limited. Next is ICC has named whom as ambassador of ICC Men's T20 World Cup 24, which is set to be held in West Indies and USA in June 2024. So Usain Bolt, right, has been appointed as an ambassador of ICC's Men's T20 World Cup 2024. If we talk about Usain Bolt, he is a very famous Jamaican sprinter. He is an 8-time Olympic gold medalist and he has been appointed as the ambassador of the 9th edition of ICC Men's T20 World Cup that will be held in USA and West Indies in the month of June 2024. Then if we talk about Abhinav Bindra has been selected as the torch bearer for the Paris 2024 Olympic Games and he became the India's first individual Olympic gold medal winner also, right? Abhinav Bindra. I repeat, he has been appointed as the torchbearer as well as he is the India's first individual Olympic gold medal winner. He is related to which sport? He is related to shooting. Then if we talk about Vinicius Junior has been appointed as the Goodwill Ambassador for Education for All by UNESCO. Right, take a note of this. And he is also the second Brazilian football player after Pelé to be appointed as the UNESCO's Goodwill Ambassador. And if we talk about Valerie Adams has been named as the International Event Ambassador for the World 10K Bengaluru 2024 event. I repeat, Olympic champion Valerie Adams has been named as the International Event Ambassador for World 10K Bengaluru 2024. Valerie Adams, she belongs from New Zealand and she's a shot putter, Valerie Adams, and she's a 2 gold medal winner in Olympics and she has been named as the International Event Ambassador for World 10K Bengaluru 2024. And Vinicius Junior, he has been appointed as the Goodwill Ambassador for Education for All by UNESCO. Right? Take a note of this. Apart from this, if we talk about Usain Bolt, who is a Jamaican sprinter and 8-time Olympic gold medalist, right? And Usain Bolt currently holds the world records in 100 meter, 200 meter, 400 meter with times of, for 100 meter, he is having a world record of 9.858 seconds. For 200 meter, 19.19 seconds. And for 4x100 meter race, he holds the record for 36.84 seconds. So these are the world records held by Usain Bolt and he's a Jamaican sprinter. Correct? Next, what are the payloads launched by the Rocket Lab's Electron rocket? I repeat, what are the payloads launched by the Rocket Lab's Electron rocket? So what are the payloads here? So Rocket Lab have launched NASA's ACS-3 and South Korea's NEON-SAT-1 into orbit. Right? ACS-3, that is Advanced Composite Solar Sail System, and NEON-SAT-1. This NEON-SAT-1, it is of South Korea. Correct? Take a note of this. I repeat, Advanced Composite Solar Sail System, that is ACS-3, and NEON-SAT-1, this is of South Korea. These are the 2 payloads launched by the Rocket Lab's Electron rocket and they were launched into orbit. They were launched under the mission that is Beginning of the Swarm and they were launched from Rocket Lab Launch Complex 1 that is in New Zealand. right? This ACS-3, this is of NASA. This is a technology demonstration of the new materials that will use sunlight, to propel a spacecraft, right? Then NEON-SAT 1, this is of South Korea, and this is an Earth observation satellite. This is equipped with high resolution optical camera that will be used to monitor the natural disasters along the Korean peninsula. Then if we talk about EXPOSAT was launched using PSLV C-58 rocket, and this is India's first X-ray polarimeter satellite to study the black holes and neutron stars in space. I repeat, this EXPOSAT is of ISRO, or we can say of India, and this was launched using PSLV C-58 rocket, and this is India's first X-ray polarimeter satellite that will be used to study black holes and neutron stars. Then if we talk about Rudra 0.3 HPGP, this is a green propulsion system that was developed under DRDO TDF scheme that demonstrates the in-orbit functionality on Rudra 0.3 HPGP. What is this DRDO TDP? TDP stands for Technology Development Fund Scheme. This is of DRDO, and they have recently successfully demonstrated the functionality on a payload launched by PSLV C-58 mission, right? Take a note of this. And this is a green propulsion system, correct, of Rudra 0.3 HPGP payload. And this DRDO TDF, this is a flagship initiative of the Ministry of Defense executed by DRDO that comes under the Make in India initiative, and it focuses on the funding innovation in defense and aerospace industries, especially in that will be benefiting startups and MSMEs. Next, here you can see Rocket Lab. They have launched NASA's ACS-3 and South Korea's NEON-SAT 1 into orbit. Next you can see NASA's ACS-3. This is a technology demonstration of new materials that you will use sunlight to propel a spacecraft. And if we talk about NEON-SAT of South Korea, this is an Earth observation satellite that is equipped with high resolution cameras that will be designed to monitor the natural disasters. Moving on, here you can see Earth observation satellite equipped with high resolution camera to monitor the natural disasters along the South Korean peninsula. Next is your International Day of Multilateralism and Diplomacy for Peace, observed on 24th of April 2024. The main motive of this is to promote the values of multilateralism and international cooperation, which are fundamental principles of the UN Charter, and to achieve 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Right? Take a note of this. When was this first observed? It was observed on 24th of April in 2019. This day emphasizes the importance of diplomatic engagement and multilateral action in addressing global challenges such as your climate change, poverty and conflict. And this day also support the advance of 3 pillars of United Nations, that is peace and security, development and human rights. Next thing, remember UN Summit of Future. UN Summit of Future. This will be held in the September month of 2024, right? As the name suggests, UN Summit of Future, it is to basically establish a vision for our future and what are the actions needed for the same. Next is, what was the theme of International Girls in ICT Day observed on 25th of April? In 2024, it was observed on 25th of April. Generally, it is the 4th Thursday of April that we observe this day, right? So what is the theme here of this day? Theme being, what is the theme? The theme of this day is leadership, right? So the theme of the International Girls in ICT Day 2024 is leadership. This day is observed on the 4th Thursday of April month, and in 2024 it was 25th of April we observed this International Girls in ICT Day. Correct? Take a note of this. Then this Women and Girls in Science Leadership, a new era for sustainability. This is the theme for the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, right? Then Think Science, Think Peace. This Think Science, Think Peace, remember, this is the sub-theme of this International Girls in ICT Day. And Digital Skills for Life. Remember, this Digital Skills for Life, this is the theme for International Girls in ICT Day for 2023, last year. It was observed on 27th of April in 2023 as the fourth Thursday come on 27th of April in 2023, right? Then in 2023 we just saw it was 27th of April. It is 25th of April in 2024. It is 25th of April, and in 2025 it will be 24th of April only. We will observe this International Girls in ICT Day, right? And the theme for this day in 2024 is leadership. Then it was ITU in 2011 on 8th of April 2011. ITU announced the establishment of this International Girls in ICT Day that will be held every year on the fourth Thursday in April. If we talk about ITU, this was established in Paris. This is International Telecommunication Union, and this was established in Paris in 1865, right? And remember, then if we talk about Secretary General of ITU, Doran Bogdan Martin, headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland, right? Next, here you can see International Girls in ICT Day 24 observed on 25th of April, and the theme here being leadership. The day is annually observed by ITU and United Nations Specialized Agency for ICTs. Apart from this, friends, if we talk about World Neglected Tropical Disease Day, then on 30th of Jan we observe this day. World Chagas Disease Day, it is observed on 14th of April. World Malaria Day we saw it is on 25th of April, and World AIDS Day we observe this on 1st of December, right? All these days they are observed by World Health Organization. When was the first World Malaria Day observed? It was on 25th of April in 2008. The first Malaria Day was observed, and WHO, it focuses basically on 11 days and 2 weeks that WHO member states have mandated as official good public health days. Then if we talk about malaria, malaria is a mosquito-borne disease. It is caused by Plasmodium parasites. This is the name of a mosquito that causes your malaria, correct? And there is a high fever in malaria. In 2022, there were 249 million cases of malaria that were registered, and almost 608,000 cases of deaths were registered because of malaria. And if we talk about WHO, who is the Director General? Tedros Ghebreyesus, and headquarters Geneva, Switzerland. When was WHO established? On 7th of April 1948. Next is SJVN Limited inaugurated India's first multi-purpose green hydrogen pilot project. Central government expanded the Committee for Drug and Medical Device Pricing Reforms. Kabul, they signed an MOU with CSIR's arm NGRI for advancing geophysical investigations. India's IFSCA and Kuwait CMA, they signed an MOU for information sharing. RBI has raised minimum capital requirement for ARCs to 300 crore rupees. That was earlier 100 crore rupees. And Deputy Governor T. Ravi Shankar has got 1 year extension. RBI restricted Kotak Mahindra Bank from adding new customers online and issuing new credit cards. PayU get RBI's approval to operate as payment aggregator. Indian institutes from Delhi NCR and Mumbai has won NASA Humanitarian Exploration Rover Challenge 2024 award. Amitabh Chaudhary reappointed as MD and CEO of Axis Bank. India's Geeta Sabharwal appointed as UN Resident Coordinator in Indonesia. Hridayal Prasad appointed as MD and CEO of Sirai Infrastructure Finance Limited. Usain Bolt has been named as the ambassador of ICC Men's T20 World Cup, and he's a Jamaican sprinter, Usain Bolt. Then Rocket Lab, they have launched NASA's ACS-3 and South Korea's NeonSat-1 into orbit. International Day of Multilateralism and Diplomacy for Peace observed on 24th April. International Girls in ICT Day observed on 25th of April. And World Malaria Day observed on 25th of April. So these were your important days for the day, friend. Important current affairs for the day, friends. If you find the session interesting, do like the video and comment below and let us know what are your views for the same. Now let's move to some revision part that will be very beneficial in your learning. First is name the manufacturer that launched SKT-105E. What is this SKT-105E? This is a locally made electric mining truck. It is a electric mining truck, right? SKT-105E. 5E, and it is locally made. That means it is made in India. It is made in India's, and it is India's first locally made fully electric mining truck SKT 105E. Question asked is that which company has launched this? Right? It is a construction and mining equipment manufacturer, that is Seni India Private Limited. Correct? As you can see here, Seni India, that is Seni Heavy Industries India Private Limited, that is a construction and mining equipment manufacturer, and they have launched this SKT 105E, that is India's first locally manufactured fully electric open cast mining truck. This truck has various unique electric propulsion systems with zero emission, as it is an electric, that means there is a zero emission, correct, and there is very low carbon footprint for this. It is very cost effective and energy efficient, and it has a payload capacity of almost approximately 70 tons. Right? If we talk about Seni India, this is a Pune, Maharashtra based company. It is Pune, Maharashtra based company, and it is a wholly owned subsidiary of Seni Heavy Industries Construction Limited. And Seni India, it was incorporated in the year 2002. Now, if we look at the options, if we look at the Toyota, if you remember Toyota, this was the organization or automobile manufacturer that introduced India's first flex fuel strong hybrid. India's first flex fuel strong hybrid was introduced by Toyota. Then if we talk about Tata Motors, it delivered the first of its kind 2 hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. It delivered first of its kind 2 hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle buses. Right? So Toyota, they delivered the India's first flex fuel vehicle, and Tata Motors, they delivered the first 2 hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle buses. Right? And we have seen what is this SKT 105E. This is the electric mining truck, and it has a payload capacity of 70 tons, and it is almost zero emission because it is electric, and it is eco-friendly, and apart from this, it has a payload capacity of 70 tons. And remember, it is the India's first locally manufactured electric mining truck. Next is, which organization has directed all the regulated entities to provide KFS to borrowers with effect from 1st of October 2024. So, which organization has directed all these regulated entities to provide KFS? First of all, what is this KFS? KFS is your key fact statements. Key fact statements. Right? So, which organization? It is RBI, Reserve Bank of India, has directed all the regulated entities, that are your banks and financial institutions, to provide the key fact statements to all the new retail and MSME borrowers with effect from 1st of October. That means all the details of the loans, right? All the key guidelines, key points should be mentioned properly, right? And there should be there should be transparency between the agreement, and all the information need to be told to the borrowers before providing them with the loan. Here you can see RBI, they mandated all the regulated entities, that are your banks and NBFCs, financial institutions, to provide comprehensive key fact statements to all the new retail and MSME borrowers with effect from 1st of October 2024. Remember this date also. This question can also be definitely asked, that RBI mandated all the regulated entities to provide these key fact statements to borrowers with effect from which date? So it will be from 1st of October 2024. And this statement should offer detail about the recovery agent policy, contact details for the grievance, right? And also about the likelihood of the loan being sold to others in simple and easy to understand language. Right? Here you can see this statement should offer key details about the recovery agent policy, contact details for grievances, and this key fact statements will include a computation sheet of the annual percentage rate and the loans amortization schedule over the loan tenure. Correct? Apart from this, remember this APR, that is your annual percentage rate, will include all charges that are levied by the regulated entity, and APR will also include charges that are levied on borrowers by the regulated entities on the behalf of the third party service providers on actual basis, such as your insurance charges and legal charges. Correct. Moving on. Next. Total amount of deposit in senior citizen account has been increased to how much amount in December 2023? So remember the deposits of senior citizens, they have surged by 143% to 34 lakh crore in 5 years. This data was released by SBI report. This data was released by SBI report. So I repeat, the total amount of deposit in senior citizen account has been increased to how much amount? So it has been increased to 34.367 lakh crore rupees. This data was released by SBI's ERD department, that is your Economic Research Department, right? And this stated that there has been an increase in the deposit in senior citizens account by 143% to 34.367 lakh crore rupees, right? And this is for the last 5 years we are saying. If we further see SBI's Economic Research Department, the total amount of deposit in senior citizen account increased by 143% to 34.367 lakh crore rupees at the end of December 2023 from 13.724 lakh crore rupees in 2018. Correct? Take a note of this. Who released this report? SBI's ERD department released this report, and this report states that the number of or the total amount of deposit in the senior citizens bank account has surged by 143% and that to 34 lakh crore rupees. Correct? Then if we further talk about SBI, tell me who is the chairman here? Dinesh Kumar Khara. Headquarter Mumbai, Maharashtra. It was founded on 1st of July 1955. And what is the tagline of SBI? The banker to every citizen. Apart from this, if I ask you who is the governor of RBI? Shaktikant Das. Then tell me who are the 4 deputy governors of RBI. Name them. Tell me, name them. Who are they? First, remember Dr. M.D. Patra. Second, M. Rajeshwar Rao. Third, M.K. Jain. And fourth will be B.P. Kanungo. Right? These are the 4 deputy governors of RBI. Next is your homework section. First, in April, Dash tribe took part in the election 2024 for the first time by casting their votes in Andaman and Nicobar Lok Sabha constituency. Second, name the former Indian first-class cricketer who has been recently appointed as the head coach of the men's national team by Uganda Cricket Association. Third, in April, the Technology Development Board announced the financial support of 14 crore rupees to Dash company for developing satellite solar panels. Fourth, which of the following sport personalities have recently secured a Paris 2024 Olympic quota for India in the marathon race walk mixed relay event? And fifth, what is the tagline of Indian Bank? So these are your 5 homework questions and I need to see maximum participation from all the students watching our video. That's all for the day, friends. I hope you enjoyed the session and you can follow us on the YouTube channel as well as apart from YouTube channel, you can go and follow us at Affairs Cloud Telegram channel. And if you have any queries related to the content or the courses offered to you or the payment which you did on the application, you can contact us on the number provided, that is 7677333862. Apart from this, friends, you can follow us on the Facebook as well as on Instagram handle, that is affairscloud_official. Also students, you can use code VIKAS10 that will give you extra 10% discount on the courses that you will purchase. Yes.